It's Uncle Marv here with another episode of the IT Business Podcast, the show for IT professionals and managed service providers where we help you run your business better, smarter, and faster. So this is our regularly scheduled Wednesday live show. I did have a guest that was supposed to come on this segment, but they could not make it. So I'm going to be here and give you some news from the industry, give you some hot topics, and of course, your Florida man story for the week. So the question I want to ask to kind of get you guys going is, what is the worst way to find out that you are not charging enough? That is a question that I'm going to answer a little bit later because I had an interesting comment about that today. I've also got a question that I've seen argued, I guess, for the lack of a better phrase, over the last couple of weeks. DHCP server, where should it be? Should it be on a physical server, virtual server, or on the firewall? So I have some thoughts on that. I do want to address the fact that, yes, I am back. This is the second week back since my two conferences, IT Nation and PaxSafe Beyond, and I am here for the summer and do not expect to be gone until the end of August. Or maybe is it September? We'll soon find out. But the summer is going to be what we did a few years ago, and we are going to try to do MSPs only for these live shows. So, of course, you know the summer is filled with tons of vendor profiles that you have been not hearing yet, but you will be hearing all through the month of July. Those are going to be for the IT Nation Pitch It contest. We are in the midst of publishing all of the podcasts that I recorded at PaxSafe Beyond. All the ones from IT Nation are finished, but I have some from PaxSafe Beyond. We are about halfway through with those. And then I have a couple of member profiles for the NSITSP. So there's going to be a lot of podcasts that are coming out. They are short, folks. They're 15 to 20 minutes, so they're not going to overwhelm you. I know some of you get behind and listen, I'm doing the best I can. I'm trying to give you great content. I'm trying to keep you entertained. I'm trying to keep you up to date with what's happening in our industry. And sometimes, it's a big industry. Things happen. Things change all the time. And I do have a couple of news alerts that'll be coming out as well. So it is going to be packed. And I know some of you are like, Marv, you're doing so many podcasts. When do you work? I work. And just to tell you a little bit of how much I work, I have two moves scheduled for Friday. One is not a real big move. It's actually, I'm doing a subcontracting gig for my good friend Don Sizer and her company, Third Element Consulting. They have a client that's a little bit south of me and they needed some boots on the ground. So I'm going to go down there on Friday and we're going to move their networking equipment across the street, get them all set up and everything. And then later that day, we've got an office that technically they're closing down. This is a client that I have been. So I've been trying to fire them for over a year. Let's just say that. And every so often they just call back and say, please, please, please help us. And we do. And we give them invoices. And of course, they are so ridiculous that they'll pay just enough to keep us on the hook. And then I'm like, you know what? This is done. So earlier this year, we said, this is it. You're done. Bye-bye. See you later. And then they sent another email saying, yeah, we're closing down this office. We need to keep this and this, but we're closing down the office. What can we do? I said, you can give me all your equipment so that will, get you paid up on all those unpaid invoices. And they said, done. So I had already gone and received a couple of the computers and phones and stuff like that. They're not, some of them are old, but some of them are not. There's still some value there. And it's not a ton of money. It's not like thousands of dollars. I think the total bill is probably $1,000. So I'm going to get a firewall back that's going to be decent. We're going to get a switch back. We're going to get a couple of computers, some phones, some other stuff. So all of that will be a wash, and I will be done with them. So that'll be good. And then on Monday, we're moving another office, and it's actually has to be spread out over 2 days. And they're condensing, and then they're moving into another space. So we've got some computer reconfigurations we're going to do. We're going to make this a network inside of a network. So we're taking their firewall and their switch, and we're condensing them inside of this other office. So they're going to keep their firewall and their network intact so that we don't have to change anything. They've got a Synology NAS. They've got some phones. So I'll still be supporting them, but it'll be inside of another office. And hopefully I'll just get the whole office and that'll be done with it. So you would have thought, okay, Marv, sounds like you're doing a lot there. Okay. Well, this afternoon at precisely 3:06, we get another email from a client, and let's just say this is the client that you always hear about with AJ and TJ. And the law firm is condensing yet again. They're closing down their Miami office. And the email basically read, how soon can you go and get the computers and printers and everything from that? And I said, well, what's our time frame? I'm already busy. And he said, well, we have to be out of this space by Monday. So I had to scramble, and we are going tomorrow morning. And I've got 2 great helpers down here that are going to help me. We're going to disconnect and pack and throw everything in a U-Haul and bring it back to my office. And then we'll be able to inventory it. And some of it's not going to be used because it's old. Some of it's going to be reused at other offices and all of that stuff. So yeah, folks, I work hard for my money. So that's what we're doing here. Before I go on with other things in the show, I do want to say one thing. So we have been posting these shows from PAX A Beyond, and one of the new people that I met there, Kim Kimmons from Cloud Contracts 365, made a comment on my LinkedIn post where I tagged her and had her, highly promoted on the show and everything. And basically she said that I complained about chocolate as her swag. And I did have to say, chocolate is not swag. Chocolate is like flowers. They're not a gift that lasts. And so you should never give flowers as a gift. And I know that people give flowers all the time. They give chocolate all the time, especially if you're a man and you have done something to offend or upset the wife, and you go get fresh flowers or you go get chocolate and stuff. Chocolate is not swag. And I probably should explain this because there were a lot of new vendors that didn't understand the swag thing. And even after I did my little swag preview last week, they were like, what is this swag thing? And so I'm just going to try to state this as best as possible. My idea of good swag is something that I'm going to use and something that will last. When it comes to the idea of apparel, like shirts and hats, they have to be something that I'm going to wear. Now, I don't wear vendor garb, so that's not fair to the vendors because they don't see me wearing their stuff, and I just don't. But I do evaluate them based on how they feel, how they look. Is it something that I would wear? Is it something that I would give to somebody else to wear? Because a lot of our clothes, shirts, socks, they make their way up to the cabin. They make their way to other family members. My stepson, he's got a lot of shirts. He loves the Threat Locker shirts, the big Iron Man thing in the middle. So they go places. So that's something that I try to do with the swag. It's got to be something that I use. It's got to be something, a good example is this. This is a coaster. This is from Zorus. And we've got these nice wood tables here. I've got a glass table over there that we just can't throw, cheap little stuff on. This has got a nice cork bottom that sits well on the glass. It doesn't scratch it, but it's nice. So when people come in, we've got coasters on the table. I've got this power cord That is, who is this one from? BitTitan, Migration Wiz. I love these things. We're always looking for those things. So I like to find the ones that are, good and healthy. And, it's been sitting here. This one's probably been, I don't know when I got this one, sometime last year. But I use it. That's how I value my swag. Just this last week, my nephew was here with his wife, and they left their baby with us for a few days. And turns out we had to find stuff for them to play with, her. And I found a ball. I don't know who the ball was. And then I found one of those Monger looking dolls. And it was so cool because it looks like a bee. And we had her play with that. So not all swag is equal. And, swag that is usable, sometimes get a little more preference. Here's pins that I use that are vendor pins and stuff. So it's those types of things. So that's why I just had to feel the need to qualify what I said to Kim, and that chocolate is not swag. It tasted good, tasted fantastic. If I was a chocolate man, I'd be, great, lovely. But it's gone. I can't do anything with it. Poop it out, but that's how we view swag. So Kim, if you're ever listening to the show, or if somebody's going to get a message back to her, Cloud Contracts 365, great company. Need some better swag. Let's see here. Let's do some news. And I want to start off with a news story. And the reason that this caught my attention, one, it's Synchro, and Michael George was on the show recently. You have heard a lot of what Synchro has been doing to beef up their program, make it better, make it something that people want to use. And they came on and talked about the new XMM platform. It integrates a lot of stuff with the 365, Microsoft licensing, all of that stuff. And, they took some heat over, the last 18 months or so. I gave them heat. But now you got to give them love. They're coming on strong. So Synchro is back. They've done some great stuff there. And then I think it was yesterday, they announced universal billing to eliminate missed invoices and recover lost revenue. So I wanted to make sure we talked about that. Universal billing automatically pulls daily license counts from supported third-party vendors on the Synchro marketplace. There's that word. Marketplace, and it maps them to the correct customers and incorporates them into recurring invoices with pinpoint accuracy, even as the license usage fluctuates. So far at the launch, the feature supports Proofpoint, and by the end of 2025, it's also going to do the Microsoft licensing and a whole bunch of other things. Key benefits of the universal billing include elimination of manual reconciliation, accurate invoicing, reduced billing errors, scalability, and immediate ROI. And when we say immediate, Tom Bull, our good friend from Two River Computer, reports that universal billing has completely eliminated the need for manual invoice updates each month, uncovered previous mislicensing, and significantly reduced administrative overhead. So if Tom Bull says it, it must be true. So thank you, Tom, for being quoted in this Synchro press release. And for those of you, if you are on the fence about an RMM integrated tool to use, listen, disclaimer, I don't use them. I looked at them. I was almost ready to switch, but I stayed with the product that I have used since 2015 or 2014. That's how long it's been. So this is a time that probably if you're, just starting as an MSP, you're at the point where you're stepping out from being a solo tech. You need to do some managed service stuff. You want a proper platform. Synchro is going to be something for you to look at. And this was a story that I wasn't sure I wanted to cover because it's kind of been covered over the last couple of months, but it is it's coming back with a vengeance, and attackers continue to exploit signed ConnectWise installers to deploy malware. So now we're at the point where what service providers need to know. So the security researchers at GData have observed a sharp increase in malware infections since March 2025, with threat actors using a technique called authentic code stuffing. And this involves inserting malicious configuration data into the certificate table of a signed ConnectWise installer, allowing the file to remain digitally signed and bypassing traditional security checks. As a result, Windows does not verify the altered content, and the modifier installer appears legitimate. So attackers are distributing these Trojanized ConnectWise installers via phishing campaigns and fake AI tool sets. So let me stop here before you guys think that, I'm going to bash on ConnectWise. I am not. Although I don't use ConnectWise, I did use Screen Connect for a period of time. I'm not going to say what happened there. No fault of ConnectWise or Screen Connect, but I chose another product as a one-off when I need to do on-demand remote support. So I did use it. I found nothing wrong with it, but of course, ConnectWise is taking some heat, and I'll reach out to them at some point to see if we can talk about it. But it's been, they're getting hammered. So the key takeaways for us, of course, phishing and social engineering remain primarily the attack vectors of choice. So we must educate users and clients about suspicious emails and downloads. We should be cautious with any installer, even if it appears to be from a trusted source and has a valid digital signature. We should monitor for unusual remote access activity or unexpected ConnectWise installations. And then, of course, if you are in the ConnectWise ecosystem, stay updated with ConnectWise security advisories and apply patches promptly. So those are the things you need to know there about the news. We've got some people in the chat here. Arturo. Hello, sir. Glad to see you live. Yes, I am live, not to Memorex. And our good friend, Matt Foreman from Texas, is in the house. And see, these are all on the YouTube platform. I see some people over on the LinkedIn. Yeah, looks like Facebook is dead. Nobody's over there. But thank you all for tuning in live for this show. And I'm going to do a little bit of sponsor announcement here. So coming up soon, when I talk sponsors on the show, and there will be a big announcement next week, we talk about the fact that I'm looking to obviously pay for some of the expenses that go along with podcasting here, the gear that I have, the hosting platforms, the streaming platforms, the travel when I go to conferences. And I don't really ask a lot of you, the listener. Most of you are fine. You get this content free. But I do ask, if you want to support the show, but you don't want to commit to being a monthly contributor on Ko-Fi or Buy Me a Coffee, what you can do is use the Amazon link that is on my website, theitbusinesspodcast.com, or in every single show note that goes with the podcast. Click on the Amazon link, and that will support the show. Now, the reason I am saying that is that Amazon Day is closely approaching, and it is going to be bigger than ever. So this year's Summer Amazon is going to run from July 8th through the 11th. That is 4 full days for Prime members, which is double the length of any of the previous years. You'll find deep discounts on everything from electronics and office equipment to home essentials and more. So even if you're buying for your house, you can use my link and support the show by purchasing through Amazon and my link. So if you're looking to shop during Prime Day, 2 things. 1, head over to the website, click on the Amazon shop link, and that'll be great. Or I'm going to put on all the social medias Prime Day links that you can use to go and shop. I'll try to find some great deals for you and all of that. But that is a great way that you could support the IT Business Podcast. Every purchase you make using our link helps keep the show running and brings you more great content. Plus, as a Prime member, you'll get access to exclusive lightning deals, early access to new products, and fast shipping on thousands of items. So mark your calendars, folks, July 8th through the 11th, and remember to use our Amazon link to shop. Did I do a sponsor slide? I don't think I did. All right. Well, so if you watch before the show, you'll see the sponsors that I have on there. And if you watch at the end of the show, you'll see the sponsors on there. And if you check the show notes in your podcatcher, you'll see the sponsor links there. Of course, NetAlly is our legacy sponsor, and I have been trying to get them to be on a show here to go over some stuff, but they have gone Hollywood on me. They did Cisco Live, they did some other stuff, so they have not made time for me. So that's why you have not seen the NetAlly stuff, but they are, we'll see, they continue to be the legacy sponsor. But NetAlly, your handheld network tools where you can test network connectivity in as little as 10 seconds. And then, of course, you've got our other sponsors. I've already been talking about the travel sponsors. If you've been listening to the podcast from IT Nation and PAX 8, Lion Guard is the gear sponsor for 2025. BVoIP and TrueGrid are the travel sponsors. Thank you very much for that. And then, of course, there is always Rhythms. They are the internet that powers the show when we are on the road. And lastly, if you by any chance need some website hosting and templating stuff for your clients, Designer Ready is a sponsor that you should look at. Head over to itbusinesspodcast.com/sponsors and click on all of those. So, hot topics today. I asked the question, what is the worst way to find out that you're not charging enough? And I think we have enough people in the chat that let me see if you guys are even listening. If you are near a keyboard, maybe throw in a couple of quick words and tell me what are common warning signs that you're not charging enough. So I'm going to give you a few seconds. I'm going to tell you a little story, and then I'll give the end of the story a little bit later, and I'll see if anybody writes anything in the chats. I'm going to talk slow because I know that there's a 20-second delay, and because there's cars going by and motorcycles going by, and they're making a lot of noise. You may not hear it, but I do. So, hello, Frank. I don't think that has anything to do with ways to find out that you are not charging enough. But so I've got my big law firm client, and they've been downsizing considerably. So the main partner left. He retired, and of course, as the principal, there were several members of his family working at the firm, so they're all gone. And because it's been a firm that's been around for 20 plus years, there were some people that are like, well, if he's leaving, I'm leaving. So they went. And of course, they're claiming to still be reeling from the year of our COVID. So there are some people that are retiring, all this sort of stuff. So this is a client that every few years, and I'm gonna say that for a couple of reasons, they always shop me. And I'm gonna try to say this as gently as possible. They don't think that I support them well enough, and by well enough, I mean they want somebody who's gonna pick up the phone every time they call and be available to support them right then, right there. They don't want to have to wait. When they have looked at other companies, they never like the idea of tickets. They don't want to have to send an email and then wait for somebody to get back to them. They want somebody to answer their call and take care of their issue right there. Okay, big problem. Nobody's going to give that type of support that fast all the time. They think I charge too much. And I'm like, no. As a matter of fact, I probably don't charge you enough. And I know that they've tried to price check me. Another reason they do it is because for the most part, I am a solo tech, even though I have subcontractors all over the state that I work with. I have somebody that's dedicated in the Tampa area for their office. I had somebody dedicated in the Orlando office for them. I have somebody that is up in the Fort Pierce, Port St. Lucie area. That's where another one of their offices are. I've got friends in Miami, although Miami's close enough for me to go when I need to. When they had an office in Sarasota. In St. Pete, I had somebody to go there. So that wasn't the issue. They just didn't think I was big enough. They're like, we want a big company because they'll be able to support us. And I just say, yeah, right. So that has been an issue all along. Another issue is, and I'm going to say this because we are in a period of time where people think that diversity does not need to be talked about. But I can tell you this for a fact that somebody at that office doesn't like me because I'm black. And you can say what you want. I know it's true. We talk about it all the time. And it's an issue. And I will leave it at that. So let's see what has been said in the chat. Well, Mr. Nelson, you are not charging enough if you need to ask. Okay, that's a good answer there. My man from Texas, pay attention to competitor pricing in the service area. Okay. Arturo, maybe if you are not charging enough, the client, may think you don't know what you are doing. Okay. And the long answer, let me clean my glasses for this. Oh, by the way, another swag item that I use. Who is this? Level Up. A nice little, I forgot the name of that squeegee, that guy that used the ShamWow. Are you keeping up with me, camera guy? The faux $300 ceiling is not a measure. Sell on value and you can get well over the price per XXXX models. I did a presentation on selling on value at Secure, and we'll do it again soon. So measurable business outcomes. Pro tip, to solve the cell phone problems, we charge $150,000 to get my cell phone with only a guarantee of 4-hour return call, and people pay it. Very nice, sir. Let's see. Or if they pay you more than the actual invoice amount, that could be an indicator too. You're always busy but not profitable could be a sign. So yeah, I did a little research to try to figure out, okay, what would other people say are the worst ways to find that you are not charging enough? And of course, if you don't have profit margins or they are disappearing, that could be a sign when MSPs constantly undercharge. I'll be honest, I don't believe I undercharge. I know what my competitors are charging in this area. I know what the big boys are charging in this area. And I'm actually closer to the big boys than to everyone else. There are tons of companies that try to undercut me, but I can tell you what has happened. They have done so, and then once they get in to see what is actually on the network, everything changes. So I'm not worried about that. Team burnout and high turnover. So, of course, if you are trying to over-deliver and over-committing resources, that can exhaust your staff. Okay, there we go. Client expectations outpass service capacity. When clients expect more services or more complex support than your pricing structure allows. And I will say that, yes, that has come up from time to time. Living here in South Florida, that's a huge issue because everybody wants more, and they want to pay less. And I think I told this story after I was sitting with the client. It was 2 months ago when the client made the comment about, man, I wish you would, get more staff so that you could provide 24/7 support. And I said to him, well, we could do that, but you'd have to pay 24/7 prices. and haven't heard that comment again. So let's see, inability to invest in growth or innovation. Okay. You can't invest in marketing, sales, new technology, or staff development, and then losing business to payment errors or miscommunication. So, all right. So those are all, some pretty bad ways. But here's what happened to me today. So I told you about the fact that I had to scramble to find some assistance and a truck and everything to go pick up computers tomorrow morning, because they have to be out of the office that they just told me about at 3:06 p.m. today. During that same conversation, he did say confidentially. So I can't tell you who he is or anything like that. But let's just say that this customer price checked me again, and come to find out that they found somebody, but that person charged almost twice as much as me. So in my mind, I'm thinking, damn it, I am not charging enough. After they told me, how can we pay you less? So that was what happened to me. And I probably will, I don't know, I'll probably get a call tomorrow because they'll figure out who they are. And they said, I told you that in confidence. So probably just got myself in trouble. Let's see here. We increased our prices over 600,000. Okay. You know what, Keith? You are the outlier, and none of us can be you. You should be at 1.5 million per tech. That would be nice. Except I'd have to buy that house that she wants. All right, let's go on to hot topic number 2, DHCP. So I'm going to ask the question. You give me your answers. And the question is, should you run your DHCP server on a Windows server or a firewall? And I have seen, this has been a discussion that has been going on for quite some time. And of course, if we all were able to do best practices, that would be lovely, except that customers don't always allow us to do best practices. So I did go in and look at, I had in my mind what the pros and cons were of running it on a server or running it on a firewall. And for full disclosure, folks, I do it on both, depending on the client. I do both. And a lot of the reason I do both is some of you may say, well, everything's going to the cloud. You don't need servers, so just run everything from the firewall. Not true, my friends. There are clients that have to still maintain a physical on-prem infrastructure. And I will say, yes, law firms. I work with several of them that are antiquated. And sometimes it's not their fault. We try to blame the attorneys all the time that they're cheap or whatever. But here's the problem. There are vendors in their space that are running, we'll just say, legacy software that are tied to on-prem servers, and they will not support cloud configurations. Now, can you run it in a cloud? Can you lift up their environment and throw it in the cloud? Yeah, some places do that. And that's an extra charge, obviously. But with the support that these vendors are charging, because now they're charging $150 per user per month just to license the software, everybody's caught on to everything as a service. So this is becoming the thing. But they still have to have a physical, on-site, robust SQL server for case management. And there are several that are like that. Now, there are platforms that are coming out that are completely cloud. There's Clio, there's, Practice Panther. There's a couple of others out there. I believe Amicus tried to go to the cloud, but they went back. Client Profiles got bought by a company. I forget the name of them, but they went to the cloud. But programs like Time Matters, PC Law, are still on-premise based stuff. And then, of course, the problem also comes to the fact that clients, if they have to put their documents in the cloud and they've got terabytes of stuff, the cost to keep it in SharePoint or OneDrive doesn't really work for them. So they bring it back down. Yes, they've looked at products like Ignite, Eric Anthony. They've looked at the hybrid solutions like CenterStack. There are others out there, but the whole idea of everybody goes to the cloud, everything in the cloud isn't always possible. And so we've got 1 vote for firewall, 1 vote for Windows Server. And again, I do both. And I do both for this very reason. I have those clients that have servers that need to be on-prem. So, of course, we're running Active Directory. We're running a domain controller locally. So having that tight integration with Active Directory and DNS is so much better with the DHCP running on a server, centralized management. I do a lot of the advanced features with reservations, scopes. I've actually been playing with a lot of the allow and not allow features that are in DHCP. Of course, there's the backup option. There's the ability to make it redundant with another server. Not every client on there. But of course, the cons are always going to be, well, if the server has an issue, then your DHCP has issues. Well, then you move it to the firewall temporarily. Resource usage, of course, if you're doing your network properly, you are going to run DHCP by itself, either on a domain controller with DHCP DNS, and that's it. You're not going to run everything else. You're not going to do what we loved doing so much in the early 2000s with running small business server, where everything ran on one server. It's not the way it is anymore. You've got to split those things out. Can't have a domain controller and a SQL server together. I know some of you probably do, but we don't. And then, of course, if you're running on a firewall, it's all, of course, simple, reliable. If you've got a small, flat network, and everything is in the cloud, you're just running 365 apps, OneDrive, your line of business apps are in the cloud, then using a firewall, perfect. If you need to do security where you've got to do VLANs, yes, you can still do that on the firewall. For instance, in my, 5 or 6 offices where I'm running it on the server, I run the main DHCP on the server for the VLAN 1 and all of that stuff. But I run every other VLAN, the DHCP server is on the firewall, and that separates out my Wi-Fi networks. That separates out my phone networks and a couple of other things there. So that's how I do it. I do a hybrid here. And thank you guys for chatting in. I have found that very few clients that will or can move 100% to the cloud. Manufacturing, no. Hospitality, no. Port operations, no. DHCP on an internal server is generally safer than on a firewall, especially with network segmentation. Internal servers allow segment. Did you copy that from ChatGPT? That just feels like a firewalls, while capable, prioritize traffic control and may expose DHCP. Yeah, this is Keith. You cheated. You went to AI. Although, let me stop myself, Mr. Nelson. You are a very smart man. You probably did that from. Okay, I got you. Grok. I knew that wasn't an off-the-cuff type of response. All right, so here's what I did find as best practices and additional considerations. While it is technically possible to run DHCP and DNS on the same server as your domain controller, it is generally recommended to run AD, DS, and DNS on the DC. If possible, place DHCP on a separate member server to reduce the attack surface and simplify maintenance. Okay, so run Active Directory services and DNS on the domain controller, move the DHCP somewhere else. So that is separation of roles for best practice. High availability, deploy at least 2 domain controllers for redundancy and fault tolerance. This also ensures authentication and DNS services remain available during maintenance or unexpected outages. The other part is DHCP failover. If you must run on a Windows server, use DHCP failover / load balancing for high availability. Yep, I do that. Here's an additional consideration. Ensure reliable gigabit networking for larger environments or future growth. Consider 10G. Wow, don't have that. And then backup. Regularly backup Active Directory, DHCP, and DNS configurations. So there we have that as hot topic number 2. Thank you. It's actually good to see that people participate in the chat and are listening, watching attentively. So thank you very much. So let's see about time. Okay, we're getting close to the end here. Let's move on to Florida Man. Do I have my Florida Man video? I have no videos ready for tonight. You would think if I had no guest, I would be all prepared. I do not. Well, up here, I have this. No, that's not it. All right. Well, I do have a video to go along with my Florida Man story. So let me bring that up here. So a recent incident perfectly fits the classic Florida Man trope. Edward McClama of Ponte Vedra Beach woke up on Sunday morning to discover a 6-foot alligator swimming in his backyard pool. He thought it was a palm tree, but quickly realized the truth when he saw the gator moving through the water. After the shock wore off, he contacted the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, and within 45 minutes, a trapper arrived to safely remove the gator from the pool. The gator was over 4 feet long and probably wandered into his pool from a nearby canal. So the family even got a brief lesson about gators and posed for photos with the reptile before it was relocated to a refuge. So there's your Florida Man story, and found one that had to do with gators. It was a tough find this week. Florida Man stories. Florida Man is crazy this week. There is a lot of stuff that I really don't want to report happening in Florida this week. So was happy to find that story there. Okay, Keith is still going. Let me see what he's doing here. As we go down these paths of various configurations for various clients, one must think about the cost of support. Labor is always the biggest expense. So as much standardization allows for the much more return per tech. And in a response to the Florida Man, we just get ducks around our pool and cranes around my koi pond. Yeah, I don't imagine you guys are getting any gators in your pool. So, all right, folks, that is going to do it for our show this week. I want to thank you all for participating very well, I might add. There are shows coming up. I promise I do have a final Avik versus Domot show coming, but because of all the conferences I was at, I also was at my high school reunion this past weekend, folks. So I do have a life, too, that is outside of tech and podcasting. So got to spend the weekend up there. And I do want to say this. You know what? We talk about community a lot in our industry, and community should be the same for us outside of work. You need to have a place that you can go where you have friends, you have family, that you can decompress, unwind. But what was funny about this past weekend is, you know, I've mentioned this with other things that I've done with junior achievement and stuff, but there are times where when you see people that you haven't seen in years and you're just able to pick up where you left off the last time you saw them, that is a wonderful thing. And that's kind of how I felt this past weekend. Had a lot of people. We had, so Friday night, because it was a combined class party, we had over 200, maybe 250 in attendance on Friday night. And then we had about 100 that actually attended the dinner on Saturday night. So there were a lot of people there from our class, and it was good to see everybody. Most of us were in good health. Of course, we have parents and stuff that are starting to have issues. We shared stories about that. I even had several that came up to me to talk about watching my podcast, and not the other podcast, actually watching the tech podcast. I had a gentleman come up and wants to have me come up and tour his data center up in Central Florida. So we'll probably be doing that. Those are my classmates, folks. I actually have a lady that lives not too far from me who works for Dell. So we're going to get her on the show coming up here pretty soon. But it was just a wonderful weekend, and they made us feel very welcome. And I did not do karaoke, so don't ask. It was a nice weekend. So back to the fact that, yes, so I have an Ovid versus Domot show coming up. I told you about NetAlly. I'm working on that. We are going to be doing MSP-only shows, hopefully all summer long for the live shows. And next week, we get to announce a brand new sponsor. So join me, and I think you'll be excited as to who that is. What is this time off thing you speak of? Well, listen, if you charge appropriately, you can make time off. I'll say that. That's it, folks. Thank you very much, and we will see you soon. Have fun, enjoy, charge higher prices. We'll see you next time, and until then, holla.